Hey, how are you? If you're here for the first time, my name is Joseph. I am a certified spiritual life coach, and I post a lot of content here on my YouTube page related to self-awareness and spirituality and a lot of things in between that. And so if you're interested in being coached by me, then you can click the link that's in the description. Otherwise, hang out. Thank you for sharing the space with me, and let's talk about some things. And lately I've been on an unscripted talk about things related to what I deal with my clients, things that I experience in my own personal life, and my own personal observations of the life around us. And if anything lands well with you here, feel free to drop a comment, like, share, subscribe, and do all the things that they invite you to do in the YouTube land. And so what I'd like to share now is something that I'm noticing in my clients and something that I'm noticing even in my own life. And it's this productivity mindset, productivity culture. It has our society in a chokehold. It's turned this human experience into a dopamine addicted hyper reality. There is hardly any clear collective sense of self or intention. It's saturated with so many health and wellness gurus, so many routine gurus, so many drill sergeants in diet, so many spirituality gurus, and most everyone is attempting to prove how right or wrong something is, how good or bad something is, how positive or negative something is, how true or false something is. And then when you jump on social media and start scrolling the news feed, it doesn't make it any better. If anything, it's giving our minds something to constantly keep striving for. And it has us all in this constant chase, this fight, this race to reach a goal or to attain some version of what we think success is. As if our success, our happiness, our safety, our peace is somewhere after that goal or somewhere found in that goal. And so we often sometimes don't rest. It's hard to relax. It's hard to disconnect and disengage because of FOMO, the fear of missing out. And then it amplifies this race to some imaginary finish line so that by the time that you get to this finish line, it's not what you imagined. It's often something that we've projected into what we thought it could have been or should have been. And then you end up feeling tired, lonely, useless, and then it makes life look like it's meaningless. Does this sound like you right now? If you're honest with yourself, it sounds like a lot of us. But if it does sound like you, then perhaps you were already feeling tired. You were already feeling lonely. You were already feeling useless. And somehow you expected that productivity would have made this dissolve or would have made these feelings dissolve. But then more often than not, they don't. And then you crash and burn into a state of relaxation and rest if you don't do it beforehand. Now, if you're already in that crash and burn state, or you are slowly approaching it or quickly approaching it, then I invite you to sit down and let's pace ourselves in this space. Because two very important things have got to be clear: your intention and your expectation. And intention and expectation are not the same. Intention is your motive, your reason, your why. Your expectation is your personal standard for you. Your expectation has nothing to do with some outside goal or some outer thing, something outside of you. That's an inner thing. And lately I've been telling my clients to start to look at your intention and your expectation like a science experiment. Now, if any of you have been in school and you've done science projects, there's like this setup to making sure that you have a pretty valid and legitimate science project. And the first two things that begin a project is your objective and your hypothesis. Now, your objective is your intention. It's your why. It's your reason for the project altogether. And your hypothesis would be your prediction, what you expect. Now, For example, perhaps your intention is to afford a satisfying lifestyle. Your hypothesis would be a statement or a prediction of what that satisfying lifestyle would be. And so your objective question could be, what can I do right now to afford a satisfying lifestyle? And then your hypothesis could be, perhaps consistent cash flow supports my satisfying lifestyle. Now, that is a statement. That is an expectation, because you have cash flow and then you have satisfying lifestyle. And so the satisfying lifestyle would be your dependent variable, and then the cash flow would be the independent variable. And so now you get to experience the terrain around you to see what can be done, the patterns of behavior around you that can contribute to whatever the possible cash flow is. Because we live in a society of economics and capitalism, then most of our attention is focused on day-to-day activities and how to survive. You've got to rely on these multicolored papers and coins in order to give and receive. A satisfying lifestyle requires some self-reflection, because what would entail in a satisfying lifestyle? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And most importantly, it's what does it feel like? What does a satisfying lifestyle feel like? What do you want in a satisfying lifestyle? Do you want safety? Do you want security? Do you want confidence? Do you want copious amounts of love, joy, and peace? Or do you want something else? And then is that something else a reflection of a satisfying lifestyle? Individual results vary here. So you can choose whatever you'd like to choose and pay attention to what you feel when you're exploring whatever the choices are for you. If you care enough about your wellness and well-being, it may very well be safety, security, confidence, and copious amounts of love, joy, and peace. Those things aren't solely contingent upon things, meaning they're not contingent upon a person, a place, a thing, or a circumstance. And this is often where the productivity mindset comes in and hijacks something that's already available to you. And if you're not observing your current terrain, you may mistake your safety, security, confidence, love, joy, and peace somewhere outside of where you are right now. And where you are right now is where you are meant to be. Regardless of how comfortable or uncomfortable it is, regardless of how safe or unsafe it is, you are where you are meant to be. And yes, there's fear. Yes, there's doubt. Yes, there's worry. Yes, there's stress. But also, yes, there's joy. Yes, there's peace. Yes, there's love. But are you willing and ready to explore and peel back the layers to where that may be? Because for you to desire it simply means that it exists. But one of the key things that's got to be explored while you're exploring your terrain is something very simple and often gets very overlooked. Your beliefs. Your beliefs about what you see. Your beliefs about the environment around you. Beliefs are feelings of certainty about what something means, not what is certain. And oftentimes when you're striving, when you're chasing something outside of yourself, then there's a belief that what you're chasing and what you're fighting and what you're racing for isn't readily available where you are right now. Because you think that it's somewhere else. You think you got to do ABC in order to get EFG. And it's easy to curate some sort of scheme, some sort of action, some sort of formula that we're supposed to do in order to get that thing that's over there. When the only formula, the only scheme, the only thing that you've got to do is get clear with that story, that belief, that idea that is telling you you aren't where you are meant to be right now. Because often where you are right now, you're holding on to a belief or an idea or a story that has got you feeling tired, that's got you feeling lonely, that's got you feeling useless. And it has little to do with a current circumstance. It's often related to a past circumstance, something that has happened to you in your past, your long past or your recent past, that has disappointed you, that has let you down, that has kept you in constant fight or flight mode, and you're doing everything outside of yourself to distract yourself from that story, from that idea, from that belief. But the psychological twist here is that what you're running away from is what you're actually running back to. In order for you to really get clear with the terrain around you, you have got to soften your mental and your emotional attachment to those stories, to those ideas, and to those beliefs that have been validating your disappointment and keeping you in that loop of fear and worry and stress about where you are right now. And so you've got to be intentionally bored and lazy. Sit down somewhere, be quiet, chill out. Like literally be deliberate about not doing anything. It's not a sign of irresponsibility. It's not a sign of procrastination. It's not a sign of being unproductive. On the contrary, it's the most productive thing that you could ever do. It's a revolutionary act of self-care. It's a sign that your body is exhausted from showing up in a forced way, exhausted with doing everything that you're supposed to do. And the balm, the soothing balm for all of this forcefulness, all of this controlling, all of this fighting, this chasing and racing is gentleness. Being gentle with the parts of yourself that have normalized this forceful, pushy, chasing behavior. That's where the safety is. That's where the joy is. That's where the security is. That's where the confidence is. And yes, your external circumstances may backfire, and yes, you may get rejected. Yes, you may suffer loss. Yes, you may get evicted. Yes, you may lose friendships and relationships. Yes, you may lose a lot of money. But any circumstance, any person, place, thing, or circumstance that has rejected you couldn't afford the value of your peace and your attention anyway. This is an invitation to nurture this peace, to nurture this joy, to nurture this love, to nurture this safety, this security, this confidence, and allow the people, places, things, and circumstances in your available terrain to rise up and meet you and actually prove your hypothesis. In other words, your expectation. Because while you're losing everything, this is all for you to get clearer with your intention. And your intention is that satisfying lifestyle. And then the other variables would be the cash flow. Now, how the cash comes in depends on the flow of what you're tapping into within yourself. And that's something that can't be forced. It can only be allowed, but you got to deliberately stop doing everything to distract yourself. Stop over scrolling and doom scrolling on social media. Stop feeding into every conversation that isn't feeding your peace and your joy, and recognize what you're allowing. Because oftentimes you are allowing things that are a reflection of that story of disappointment and fear and worry that you're still attached to. And so this is where the work comes in, because you're rearranging patterns and you're creating new patterns. And as long as you are committed to showing up in a new way, in a different way, with these different patterns, then you'll start to see your life transform in the way that you've been predicting it. Does this make sense? If it makes sense and you'd like to add some things to the conversation, by all means, go into the comments section. I often meet you there, so trust me, let's expand the conversation here. I'm going to end on that note for this video today. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing the space with me. I'm going to love and let go for now, but in the meantime, in between time, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, make the most of this right now moment and the right now moments to come.